In November 2023, Russian President Vladimir Putin participates in a virtual BRICS meeting in front of member nation flags. Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, will host the BRICS conference in 2024. Along with 4 other countries, Saudi Arabia has joined the BRICS alliance, which is made up of key emerging nations. Prior to being confirmed, there was a delay in the Saudi membership, which was scheduled to begin on January 1. The goal of the BRICS organization is to increase the influence of rising economies in global affairs. But what is the BRICS group and which countries have joined? Hello, and welcome to Hypenohub, where we bring you the latest news on international happenings and geopolitics to keep you informed. This hour in focus, we are exploring BRICS and the new co-tries that have joined. But before we proceed, please kindly like and subscribe to this channel by clicking the bell notification feature below to help YouTube learn of your preferences and to receive notifications each time new videos are uploaded on this channel. Let's get started. Who are the new members of BRICS and what does the term mean? China, Brazil, Russia, and India formed the BRIC alliance in 2006. 2010 saw South Africa join, forming the BRICS. The purpose of the group was to challenge the political and economic dominance of the wealthier countries of North America and Western Europe by bringing together the most significant developing nations on the planet. The United Arab Emirates, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and Saudi Arabia were sent an invitation to join on January 1, 2024. In mid-January, a minister in the Saudi Arabian administration declared that it had not joined. However, the government of South Africa has since verified its membership. Although President Javier Milei of Argentina was extended an invitation to participate, he declined in December 2023, not long after taking office. At an annual summit, the group decides what to prioritize and makes choices. Each member takes turns holding the office of president for a full year. Although not yet revealed, the enlarged group may go by BRICS Plus. Why is BRICS important? Major global powers like China and Russia, as well as nations with sway on their continent, including Brazil and South Africa, are considered members of the BRICS. With the increased group, the total population is close to 3.5 billion, or 45% of all people on Earth. Members' economies collectively represent more than $28.5 trillion, or around 28% of the world GDP. A graph displaying the GDPs of the BRICS member states, February 2023. As members of the BRICS, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates generate roughly 44% of the world's crude oil. Nonetheless, the group contends that major international organizations like the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, which provide loans to governments, are dominated by Western countries. Greater voice and representation for emerging economies is what it desires to see. The new development bank was established by the BRICS countries in 2014 to provide loans to improve infrastructure. It had given rising countries around $32 billion by the end of 2022 for the construction of new roads, bridges, railroads, and water delivery projects. According to Professor Pudray Carmody of Trinity College Dublin, this is China's primary goal for BRICS. Through BRICS, China is trying to grow its power and influence, especially in Africa, according to him. It wants to be the leading voice for the global south. The objective of the other powerful nation in the group is distinct. According to Crean Butler of the London-based think tank Chatham House, Russia sees BRICS as part of its fight against the West, helping it to overcome the sanctions imposed after the invasion of Ukraine. It continues, Iran's membership could intensify BRICS' anti-Western sentiment. BRICS ministers demand that the world order be rebalanced. Is a fresh coalition forming to challenge US dominance? Will the dollar be replaced by BRICS currency? The US dollar is a common medium of exchange between nations. Prominent officials from Russia and Brazil have proposed the creation of a BRICS currency in an effort to lessen the dollar's hegemony. Nevertheless, this was not brought up at the group's summit in 2023. Because the economies of the BRICS countries are so dissimilar, Professor Carmody believes that it would be impossible for them to adopt a single currency. He does, however, note that they may consider creating some new currency to be used for international trade payments or a cryptocurrency for international trade in the future. Is BRICS the G20's competitor? In order to debate global challenges, developed and developing countries formed the G20 group in 1999. However, several of the G20 member nations are also part of the BRICS group. According to Dr. Irene Mia of the International Institute for Strategic Studies think tank, they might collaborate in the future. Together, they might push for more money for developing nations to tackle climate change, she adds. Why is the G20 important, and what is it? What will Russia do with the BRICS presidency in 2024? In October, Russia will host the 2024 BRICS conference in Kazan. Vladimir Putin, the president, has expressed a desire to enhance the significance of BRICS in the global financial system, foster bank collaboration, and broaden the use of BRICS currencies, encourage cooperation between customs and tax authorities. With BRICS, Russia will want to show the West that it still has friends and allies in the rest of the world, despite its invasion of Ukraine, according to Dr. Mia. On Monday, Egypt became an official member of the BRICS Economic Bloc when Russia took over as its chairman. Currently, the organization consists of 10 nations. During the group's conference in South Africa in August of last year, the BRICS, an economic forum for developing and emerging markets, welcomed Egypt, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Iran, and Ethiopia as its 5 new members. The bloc, which was first established by Russia, Brazil, China, and India in 2006, and later joined by South Africa in 2011, underwent a significant expansion with the admission of new members. Egypt is having a hard time paying back its foreign debts due to a severe economic crisis and record inflation. According to official statistics, Egypt's external debt increased by 5.1% in the fourth quarter of 2022 to reach $162.94 billion, a total of $10 billion more than the previous quarter. By joining the BRICS, Egypt is believed to have been trying to alleviate the dominance of the US dollar in the North African country's economy amid an unforgiving economic crisis triggered by internal and external factors, such as the currency devaluation and the Israeli war on the neighboring Palestinian Gaza Strip. Ahmed Hamouda, a financial analyst, told The New Arab. With the new members representing a combined population of around 2.5 billion and a GDP exceeding $16 trillion, the group's economic and political influence is expected to be strengthened. BRICS formation. Jim O'Neill, the top economist at Goldman Sachs at the time, came up with the acronym BRICS in 2001. The bloc was established in 2009 as an unofficial group to give its members a forum to confront Western forces. Russia was the driving force behind the formation of BRICS. The group is not an official multilateral institution like OPEC, the UN, or the World Bank. Each year, the heads of state and government of the participating countries get together. Every country assumes a 1-year rotational role as the group's chairman. However, it is still unclear how the BRICS membership growth may affect the political and economic landscape of the world in the years to come. There have been attempts to enforce de-dollarization to reduce the dependency on the US dollar in international commercial deals, especially since Egypt is a country that relies on importation rather than local production, Hamouda said. Egypt is the world's biggest importer of wheat, the most strategically important commodity for the nation. External reasons like the Russian war on Ukraine, which negatively impacted the world's supply of food and other necessities, have been held responsible for Egypt's current economic woes. Through bilateral agreements with Russia, China, and India, Egypt had previously made trade transactions devoid of the US dollar possible. This move could help advance the use of Egyptian local currency in cross-border financial transactions with the BRICS nations, who are also working to remove the US dollar's hegemony over the world economy. The Egyptian pound was included in the Russian exchange rate earlier in the year by the Russian central bank. Due to contentious economic policies implemented by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's administration at the time, when importers were turning to the black market to meet their dollar needs, the Egyptian pound has long been weaker than the US dollar. A vehicle currency, such as the one established by the European Payments Union in 1950, and which allowed for the clearing of many currencies, both strong and weak, is absent from the BRICS system. The dollar functioned as the primary automobile money until the D-Mark eventually took over. Although the renminbi will serve as the primary medium of exchange, payment, and settlement currency within the BRICS, the emergence of a new prime-holding currency presents novel opportunities. It is highly probable that Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates will transact in renminbi with China, regardless of the currency used as the denominator. This will have a big impact on the renminbi supply worldwide and further internationalize the currency. The International Monetary Fund will record the transactions and SWIFT will record the foreign exchange reserves. Within the BRICS, trading in local currencies will enhance the UAE dirham and the Saudi riyal. It remains to be seen which currency will become the short and medium-term BRICS vehicle currency. This currency must be robust, provide stable relationships with other major world currencies, especially the dollar, and be readily convertible. The renminbi's depreciation, exchange rate volatility, Chinese restrictions on bank accounts, and a tightly controlled offshore renminbi market have all demonstrated the currency's shortcomings in fulfilling this purpose. There are just two serious competitors. Only the UAE dirham and the Saudi riyal among the new currencies satisfy these requirements. Both currencies are fully convertible into US dollars for both citizens and non-residents, as they have been since the mid-1990s. The UAE appears more market-friendly and receptive to trading in all of the other BRICS currencies, despite the Saudi government's possible reservations about internationalizing its currency. In the medium run, it might serve as a vehicle currency as a market maker. The sophisticated financial hub in the United Arab Emirates would provide cash deposits, dirham instruments, or unrestricted conversion of BRICS currencies into US dollars to its partners. Exchange rate risk and limitations were always present with offshore renminbi assets. This will meet their need for money, which China has refused to give them. Purchasing dirham cash or instruments is risk-free since they may be readily exchanged at a set exchange rate for dollars. The financial system in the UAE would have to take on the function of the EPU, accepting both strong and weak currencies, such as renminbi for imports from China and rupees for remittances, and either selling them or adding to their reserve holdings. Both the Central Bank of the United Arab Emirates and commercial financial institutions will hold these. Where political consensus has failed to provide a system, they will step in. Right now, the only unanswered question is which way the pressures to devalue weaker currencies within the BRICS or to appreciate the dirham will ultimately go. It is worthwhile to research the D-Mark's revaluation in the European context.